She told me in front of everyone that dating me was convenient. 2 hours later, every single person at that Lake Tahoe rehearsal dinner opened an envelope with her name on it. And she turned the color of snow. You fly your entire family and closest friends to a gorgeous lodge on Lake Tahoe for your best friend's wedding weekend. You're standing there in a navy suit, proud as hell to have your girlfriend of 4 years on your arm. Until she laughs and tells the maid of honor, loud enough for the whole table to hear, "Yeah, Nolan's great. Honestly, he's just convenient." The table goes dead quiet. I smiled, excused myself to the restroom, and made one phone call. 2 hours later, when the rehearsal dinner started, a white envelope sat at every single place setting, including hers. What was inside? Keep listening, because what happened next still makes her wake up in cold sweats. My name's Nolan Carter. I'm 35, a structural engineer in Seattle. And 6 months ago, I thought I was 6 weeks away from marrying the woman I'd loved since we were 29. I met Claire Whitaker at a mutual friend's barbecue in Fremont. She was a pediatric ICU nurse, smart as hell, gorgeous red hair, laugh that turned heads. We bonded over our love of hiking and cheap tacos. 2 years and we bought a little craftsman house in West Seattle, together. Last Christmas I proposed on the ferry to Bainbridge Island at sunset. She cried, said yes, we told both families. We set the date for September 27th at a lodge on the north shore of Lake Tahoe. Deposits down, dresses ordered, my mom already crying over centerpieces. Everything felt perfect. Until it didn't. It started small. Claire would introduce me as Nolan, my boyfriend, even after the ring. I'd tease her, "Fiance has a nicer ring to it." She'd roll her eyes and say, "It's just a word, babe." Then came the comments about my job. "You could totally be project manager by now if you pushed harder. My friend Kelsey's husband just made partner at Deloitte. Can you imagine? I make $210 a year, great benefits. I coach youth soccer on Saturdays." I thought that was enough. The real gut punch came the week before Tahoe. We were at dinner with her nurse friends in Capitol Hill. Someone asked how wedding planning was going. Claire laughed, took a sip of wine and said, "Oh, it's fine. Honestly, Nolan's just convenient, you know? Stable job, nice guy, checks the boxes." I'm 33, clock's ticking. The table went silent. Her friend Mia actually dropped her fork. I forced a laugh, said something about grabbing another round, and spent 10 minutes in the bathroom staring at my own reflection, wondering how I got here. On the drive home I asked her, "Convenient? That's what I am to you?" She sighed like I was the dramatic one. "No, I was joking. Lighten up." "You know I love you, do I?" I asked. She didn't answer. The next day, I booked my own room at the Tahoe Lodge instead of the bridal suite. She didn't even notice. Friday afternoon, 38 of our closest family and friends flew or drove in for the rehearsal weekend. Claire was glowing, taking selfies in front of the lake, tagging everything #WhitakerWedding. I smiled in every photo, but inside I was ice. That night was the official rehearsal dinner. Long wooden tables on the lodge patio, string lights, the mountains turning pink behind us. Claire wore this backless emerald dress, looked like a dream. Everyone kept telling me how lucky I was. Around 7:30, right as the salads were coming out, the waitstaff, who I'd spoken to earlier, and tipped extremely well, began placing crisp white envelopes at every single place setting. Just Claire's first name in my handwriting on the front. She picked hers up, still laughing with Kelsey, and slid her butter knife under the flap. I watched her face change in slow motion. Claire's fingers froze on the envelope. The patio had gone weirdly quiet, like someone hit mute on the entire mountain. One by one, people opened theirs. My mom gasped first. Claire's dad actually stood up. Her maid of honor, Kelsey, slapped a hand over her mouth. Inside every envelope was a single sheet of heavy cream paper. My letter. And a printed screenshot of the venue contract marked canceled in red. Timestamped that afternoon, along with the $18,000 forfeiture receipt. The letter was short. I'd rewritten it 6 times on the flight down to make sure it didn't scream, just cut. "Claire, 4 years ago you told me I felt like home. Last week you told your friends I was convenient. Home and convenient are not the same thing. I deserve to be more than the safe choice you settled for when the clock got loud. The lodge is paid for through Sunday. Enjoy the weekend with your family. I've already moved my things out of the house. Keys are with Mark. Be well. Nolan." She looked up from the paper like she'd been slapped. "Nolan." Her voice cracked across the tables. Every head turned to me. I was standing by the stone fireplace, hands in my pockets, calmer than I'd been in weeks. Convenient, I said, loud enough for the whole patio. That word's been living rent-free in my head since Capitol Hill. Figured everyone here deserved to know exactly what kind of marriage they were flying in to celebrate. Claire's mom started crying. Her dad looked like he was trying to solve an engineering problem with his bare hands. My own mother just nodded at me slow and proud. Claire stood up so fast her chair scraped loud against the wood. Can we talk about this in private? No, I said. You made it public first. I'm just returning the favor. Her best friend Mia, tears already streaming, held up her copy of the letter. Claire, you said that? Out loud to all of us? Claire opened her mouth, closed it, opened it again. Nothing came out. I kept going. I've spent months listening to you tell me I should want to be senior PM, that your friends' husbands close bigger deals, that I don't push enough. Every time I told you I'm happy, you smiled like I was a cute puppy who didn't know better. Turns out the problem wasn't my ambition, it was your shame. My brother Connor stood up. Ree, maybe cool off? Nope, I cut him off gently. I'm the calmest I've been in a year. Claire was shaking now. Nolan, I was drinking. I was stressed. I didn't mean. You meant it enough to say it twice, I said. Once at dinner, once in the car when I asked if you were sure, remember? You said, and I quote, I'm 33. Ree. Sometimes you just pick the reliable option and run with it. Someone at the far end actually whispered, Jesus Christ. I pulled the last thing from my inside pocket, my grandmother's engagement ring in its little blue box, and set it on the table in front of me. The diamond caught the string lights and threw little rainbows everywhere. This was supposed to be on your finger tomorrow when we renewed vows at sunset for the photographer. Instead, it's going back in my safe deposit box. I'm not a placeholder, Claire. And I'm done letting you treat me like one. Then I looked around at every face I loved. I'm sorry you guys came all this way for nothing. The bar's paid for tonight. The rooms are yours through Sunday. Hike, drink, take the boat out, whatever you need. I'm flying home in the morning. I walked straight past Claire without touching her and headed for the parking lot. She ran after me in her heels, nearly tripping on the gravel. Nolan, wait, please God, please don't do this. I stopped under the pines, the lake air cold on my face. You did this, I said. The second you decided love was a box to check when the timeline got scary. I'll fix it, she sobbed. I'll tell everyone I was wrong. It's not about them anymore. I looked her dead in the eyes. It's about the fact that tomorrow morning I am waking up without wondering if the woman next to me is secretly disappointed she didn't hold out for someone flashier. That piece is worth more than 18 grand. Hell, it's worth more than the whole damn house. Her knees buckled. She sat down hard on the gravel path, dress and all, crying so hard she couldn't breathe. I left her there under the stars. I took the first shuttle to Reno Airport at 5:30 the next morning. The lodge was dead quiet, like the mountains themselves were holding their breath. My phone had 78 missed calls and more texts than I bothered counting. I turned it off, watched the sunrise over the desert from 30,000 feet, and by the time I landed at SeaTac, I already felt 10 years lighter. Back in Seattle, I crashed on my brother Connor's couch for a week while the locks got changed and Claire's sister packed her stuff. We sold the house 3 weeks later. Split the equity clean. I bought a condo in Ballard with a view of Shilshole Bay and enough wall space for all the climbing gear I'd always wanted, but never had time to use. Claire tried everything. Flowers on my new doorstep with notes that said, I'm so sorry I made you feel small. Voicemails at 2 a.m. That just had her crying. One night she showed up at Connor's place with puffy eyes and a bottle of the tequila we used to drink on the back deck. Connor met her at the door and told her kindly but firmly to leave. She sat on the porch steps for an hour anyway. I watched from the upstairs window and didn't move. 2 months after Tahoe, her mom called me. Mrs. Whitaker and I always got along. She taught me how to make her famous blackberry cobbler. She apologized for her daughter, voice cracking, said Claire was in therapy twice a week and barely sleeping. I thanked her, told her I hoped Claire found peace, and meant it. Then I hung up and went back to living my life. Word spread through the Seattle medical crowd fast. A couple of her nurse friends unfollowed her on Instagram. Kelsey, the maid of honor, sent me a long message saying she had no idea Claire felt that way and that she was ashamed for laughing along that night in Capitol Hill. I told her it wasn't her fault and wished her well. 6 months later, exactly 1 year after I was supposed to get married, I was belaying a buddy at the vertical wall in Magnolia when someone tapped my shoulder. I turned around and there was Claire. Thinner, hair shorter, no makeup, wearing an oversized Rainier beer hoodie like any normal Seattle girl on a Saturday. She looked terrified. Can we talk for 5 minutes? I finished tying my figure eight, handed the rope to my friend, and walked outside with her. We sat on the tailgate of my truck in the parking lot. I don't want anything from you, she started, hands shaking around a coffee cup. I just needed to say this to your face. You were never convenient. You were the best person I've ever known, and I was too scared of turning 35 without the life I thought I was supposed to have to see it. I broke us because I was weak, not because you weren't enough. You were always more than enough. I'm sorry I spent years making you feel otherwise. I let the silence sit for a long time, wind rattling the evergreens around us. I forgive you, I said finally, not for your sake. For mine, I don't want to carry anger around like extra weight on a climb. But forgiving you doesn't mean I forget, and it definitely doesn't mean we go backward. She nodded, tears sliding off her chin. I know. I just needed you to hear it from me, not a letter or a text. I'm working on myself, for real this time. I hope you're happy, Nolan. You deserve it more than anyone I know. She got back in her car and drove away. I never saw her again. That was 4 months ago. I'm 36 now, dating a graphic designer who thinks it as hot that I can quote both load-bearing codes and every line from The Princess Bride. We're taking it slow, no timelines, no checklists. My mom still makes blackberry cobbler when I come over on Sundays, and I finally sent that engagement ring to my little cousin who just got proposed to. She screamed so loud the neighbors called to congratulate her. Sometimes when I'm paddling out at Golden Gardens at sunset, board under my arm, salt air in my lungs, I think about that night on the Tahoe patio. About how close I came to marrying someone who saw me as the safe bet instead of the grand prize. Then I smile, catch the next wave, and ride it all the way in. Because I'm not convenient. I'm exactly where I'm supposed to be.